Welcome back to Railroads Online. I'm River, and I am here at the smelter. I've done a fair amount of work to try to raise up our money to a point that we have a few bucks to go do something. So we got 7,200, which kind of sounds like a lot relative to where we've been in the past. But if we come over to the locomotives, and in particular the cars, we don't need too many flat cars in particular. I know I definitely want to try to get maybe one more, at least maybe as time goes on and we become buku rich, then maybe we can get other cars beside, like other whole trains that we don't even have to switch cars around. But having 13 of these would be a good number to be able to drag up to the coal mine. That would be a nice balanced load that would not throw things off where you have to keep remembering exactly what you're bringing up there each time. Because if you don't, like, there's just a limited amount. What is it? At the coal mine, there's like 50 rails you can drop off, but only 20 beams. So if it's sort of a balancing act as to what size train. So if you can take 30 of each on a 13-car train, that's perfect. But anyway, that's a little more than I meant to explain about the flat cars. Really what I wanted to show you was we want to get a couple more hoppers. Well, each one of these is 850. So like right there is going to be like $1,700 if I get two more of these to be able to take 50 coal down here. Now in the long run, with more powerful trains and all, I'd like to even be able to take more than just 5 cars, right? Maybe we take 10. But then you have another balancing act that's going on when you go to take beams and coal from the smelter where we're at all the way down to the ironworks, where you have the same 13 car, well, not 13, yeah, 13 car thing, because you can hold 10 in each of these, and then you have to bring the iron down there with you as well, and that's only 3, similar to the beams. So if you could have a train that consisted of 3 of these cars and 10 stake body, like the number 2 there, tier 2 flat car, where you could take the iron, that would make a lot of sense, So we'll say, so do you only have 3? But then maybe what you want to do is run a train of 9 cars up to the coal mine, get 90 coal, like build up till you have 90 coal, and then come back down with these 9 cars, and that would give you 3 trips down to the ironworks. I'm sure you don't have to balance everything out like that perfectly. You could go up there with 10 cars and, whatever. You could make it work. So, but it does bring up a topic that I wanted to talk about today. 2 topics as we get started. Now, I'm going to probably show a little bit less of the train driving around. I think you guys have seen enough of that. I will show any new tracks that we make. Like, I do want to show us going over those and how well they work out. But other than that, I think it does get a lot dry. I mean, one of the last episodes I, told you when you could fast forward to, but it's just as easy for me to cut the video and even if I keep it recording, I'll just cut it off in editing. But one of the things we were talking about mentioning 13 cars. Well, if we try to put 13 cars in here, and this is, by the way, 12. I want to add another car. We're not going to fit, right? And we're pretty much all the way down that other end. So I would like to actually extend this out further, but this is going to get into a whole project, right? I don't think it's going to be a real hard, it's not going to be hard to make this turn sharper. But I'd also like, let's just take a quick look over. I think we have the rail cars over here. So see, I think we can get plenty more in here. Now the question is if we did ever want to bring down, well, see, this is iron. So that's a whole nother topic of conversation, which I don't think really makes that much difference. But again, we could talk about what we bring up there. But the problem with the iron is you're bringing up lumber and beams, and you're only bringing up 24 at a shot from the sawmill. So to stop here and pick up some number of these, yeah, I'm sure you could do it, but I'm not sure how worth it is. I think you'd be better off just like expanding the number of lumber cars. So therefore, the amount of iron ore you bring back down here just really isn't going to matter. You can store a ton of it down here, and you can store a ton of it up there. I think it's just a matter of almost how many cars can you hold. That's my impression. Opinions may vary, right? So the point is, though, how many of these cars could we fit in here? Quite a few more. Is it long enough? I don't know. But that leads into, if we're going to bring, I do think it could make sense because of the nature of this map. to bring down coal cars into here somehow. And then on the other side of the smeltery, there's really not a lot of room before we get to hills. But we still have like some more space, if you look, that we could level out before we get to the hills over here, right? So this is all the original ground here. So we have a good amount of space back in here, and I'm thinking that this could be a place to store coal cars. Which also sort of means that we're going to have to redo this intersection yet again. Possibly. We'll see. Maybe we could feed in the same way and just branch off and go that way. There is maybe by making this straighter, right? Could make this straighter, make that a bit of a tighter turn, and then have a double. Well, you need a T here at least, right, to be able to get your rail cars in. We'd have to figure out how exactly we would get those. Now, we could possibly put another T here and then make this like another junction. So maybe you could pull in and then just back in this way, right? So in other words, just you would be, if you were dropping off coal, you would be forced to come down into here, go into a T, which is kind of fine because we could, make it like make this straighter longer, come into that T, and then you'd back your cars in over here. That could definitely work. Because then you'd be away from this intersection and not have to redo it. But then do we want to redo it anyway and have you come in? Let's go. I'm trying to find a good place to see what's on the other side there. See, this is an awful steep hill. Like, would we be better off? I think it's just a matter of getting up on there. Let's just take a look at the map. Yeah, see, this is a whole low thing that's ahead of us. So this is actually a big area. This is a big flat area out ahead of us all in there, but we'd still have to would want to get up this hill because we have to get that way. But we could easily, what that's saying is, what I'm thinking of is we could easily straighten out this, like say from this angle, right? Just right here maybe. We could just go straight into that area down there with a T and just make this thing much larger, almost like the Grand Junction down there where you come in from this way, drop off your coal cars. Generally speaking, if you're going the other way, you're just going to be coming in here, picking up a few coal cars, picking up your iron, and then you take that consist down there with the right supplies for the ironworks. But you're still going to have a fair number of trains bypassing here as part of or would you? Yeah, no. Well, you're going to take the lumber up there if nothing else. And now the other thing is also true to some degree for the beams, right? There's no reason you couldn't start dropping off beams here. Nah, you really wouldn't want to do, well, beams and rails. Yeah, you could pick up some rails here. So certainly an argument for having like a yard, I think, right here. And that could make a lot of sense as far as if you wanted to make shorter trips. And the reason for making those shorter trips is because you just can't hold that much up there by those iron mines as far as the incoming supplies go. So you kind of want to balance those trips up there, particularly the coal mine, because it's easy enough to balance the iron mine. So I guess really it's the coal mine driving quite a few of these conversations right now. So I don't want to get into this, but I wrote it on my list of future repairs, and I wanted to let you guys warn you a little bit ahead of time. Not so much for the video's sake, but just in case you ran into something, or if you're just doing your smelting yard and thinking about it, you might want to consider 13 cars, I think, would be a real nice number to be able to get here. So what am I going to do now? I have restocked our sawmill completely. I have taken a fair number of beams and rails up to the coal mine, so we now have 87 coal up there. I would like to go buy a couple more, or we can do it right now, actually. I would like to buy, we have 3 right over there, 3 of the hopper cars, and I would like to get us up to 5 with the idea that at least for the temporary, that's much more worth it. All right, so let's order 2 hopper cars. right? And just for the sake of it, even though we don't necessarily need them, they are getting to be pretty cheap for us. I would like to buy since I'm going to be up there anyway without hauling down a bunch of other stuff. I would like to also order wow, what do we wait? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to wait till I'm up there so I can pull. Well, no, I'll just go ahead and order. Right, that's going to put it in the other lane where I have to back in and out, but whatever. Then the other thing to talk about when it comes to these cars and whatnot is we're going to need to buy. That's the reason I even went in there. At least some number of tanker cars, which are close to 1,500 each. And then this box cars are close to 1,000 each. So, you know, if we just got 2 of these and 2 of the other ones, right, that'd be $1,900. And then the other one would be like $2,900. So that's, you know, $4,000 practically gone of our money just to buy 2 of those cars. Now, we'll make a lot more money on them, right? But look, we only have 5,000 right now. So I was hoping to come back and actually get into some real train work here. But one of my other problems I'm having with all of this is where do I put these cars, right? So what I thought of was, do we change this? Do we just leave these here? Do I take some of them down to the, you know, do I take them back down to the sawmill? I think the best thing to do is to take them back down to the sawmill, even though I feel like I need them up here more, right? And then the problem is I'll have to come back up here and get those other cars. But then I guess if I go to the sawmill, I can drop off our 13th car of these down there. And then we could talk about doing something similar with the sawmill. Like, I don't necessarily have to leave these cars here each time, but I want to see where, like, the natural flow of things makes it easier, because we don't have teleportation, so it becomes, you know, me getting down there becomes as much of an issue as when I take cars different places. So if it's like normal for me to be doing a run of stuff up like the 13 car consist up to there, I'd like to be able to stop here, run over there, grab my cars that have the hoppers on them, and then take those down to wherever they need to go, right? That'll just take time to develop, and I'm not in any hurry. So, well, that's a lot of talking and not a lot of action, right? So let's get ready to take these down there, right? I didn't put the thing on. I never got to the point I was disconnecting anything. So let's see how we're doing. I'm sure we need some wood. It's been sitting here a while. For a little while anyway. While it's getting ready for the episode. There we go. So we're up to enough wood. And I need to check the signals. So while that's heating up, I'm going to go check the signals. I did talk to somebody over the weekend that was very signals averse. And they're trying to do different loops where they can do them without getting out of the trains. And the more I have thought about it is that's a tough duty there. They are definitely asking for a big challenge if you're going to try to do all this different logistics with different train tracks and not have to switch like I'm doing now. So, and what I've found is, I think you want to, look, do it however you want. This is not a criticism of anybody in the way that they play. For me, it's about, you know, like you get up here, we go and check this the once, and if we were going to be running back and forth, you know, from the coal mine up to here, or wherever we're going, we get these set up once and we're good to go, right? We're going around the same loop. We do have to flip the in and out, but that's even because I just have single tracks everywhere. You could go ahead and do double tracks. So we want to switch this one, so we go back out that way. We want to switch this one because this is the way we're facing. All right, so all things considered, I pulled in here to get this going, to leave these cars here, and it turns out they don't fit. So, and I was even thinking I could leave them on my bypass, but they won't. It's the same thing, right? The bypass is no longer than the actual. It might even be shorter in theory than the other. So yeah, I think the best way for you guys to think of this is as a logistics challenge more than a financial challenge. Honestly, I think you're going to get to the point where you have the trains you want. I mean, maybe not instantly, but this is not a tycoon game. This is not Railroad Tycoon. This is a train driving logistics game when you boil it down. And they may add more elements that make it more of a tycoon game, but first of all, there's no enemy AI. There's no financial real goal in the game at this point. So, and it's not like a tycoon game where you have different maps and all that kind of stuff either. This is all right. Well, let me try the new thing and let me cut the recording here. Now, hopefully, I don't have anything exciting happen. I'm going to try not to record, and then we'll see how it goes. Right. All right. I'll meet you down by the sawmill when we're ready to unload things, or when we're ready to do some more yard work, and head back up. All right, let's see about picking up our new cars. I thought I'd show you what we have to go through up here whenever we do this. If you haven't seen it, I have showed it in other videos, but we don't have to stop before this one, but I find it's a little bit easier to do it this way, where I flip both of these back over, especially if you only have the locomotive with you, and it's the small one. Because I can actually stop in between these two switches, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the yard here, come around, stop here, and then we can flip this switch to go straight, because once we pick up all our cars, that's what we're going to want to do. And then we can, oops, I was facing the right way. All right, we buzz right around, and then we come back over this way. But we could stop right there, set this one straight. We'll set this one straight so that we can back in, and then we're good to go, right? So if we did it the other way, you just have to pull down further, right? And then you can flip the two, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I find it just very tiny bit marginally easier for me to do it this way. But then again, if you have a long set of cars, you're probably better off doing it the opposite way. Now up here, I was looking at this, and I definitely think this whole thing needs to be improved. And I think as we get into more longer trains with the longer wheelbase, we're definitely going to have to change this. I think it's just going to end up being too narrow. But if you even look at the sharpness that I have right there in the turn, you can kind of see it's real sharp right in that area maybe. This is just not going to cut it. It's fine for this little train and when you're not pulling many cars. And I don't really come up here. I've just sold what I would think was almost the absolute minimum. That's not totally true, but I really have not sold much off to the depot in this whole adventure, which is why I still don't have another locomotive, and yet I'm already completing, I've completed all the track laying all the way down there. So if we're careful here, we can, well, even if we're not careful, we can back up, but if we are careful, we can stop right smack in the middle. Flip this guy around. Yeah, it's mixed feeling about those auto put on brakes. I haven't had a lot of problems, but I'm not driving anything but these somewhat overpowered Betsy's, or whatever we call the Black Porter. I guess it's the Black Porter, right? So that's what I keep calling it. Number 2. All right, so there we go. So now, with that move, we're good to go on our way back out, which is a good kind of thing to remember in life, because it stops you sometimes from crashing and burning. Yeah, so we already have 3 of these hopper cars. Hopefully they're up here when we get there. And I did confirm, by the way, it seems like this next switch we're going to go through, the one that takes us to the left as we're looking at it, it always flips back over. I don't know if that's just part of this thing being... And apparently, like, this whole thing is not deletable. I never tried to delete it, but apparently other people have. So I'm thinking that this is like a pre-made asset that resets itself kind of each time you load it. Now, I say kind of because if you have cars in there, apparently they stay. Now, I do want to pick up these 2 rail cars first. The hopper cars, they're all rail cars. Get these hopper cars first, and then that way, when it comes to the stake car, we can go right back down to that sawmill. Probably, no, can I? Yeah, I can go in the way I came out. Again, I'm not sure what's the most efficient. We can get it hooked up to that and good to go. And I didn't show that down there because it was just, I had come from there, so it was just a matter of pulling right in. I had to flip 2 switches to get up here. It wasn't anything you would call work as far as yard work goes. All right, so I did fill up with water while I was down there. All right, so this has got a link in it. This, of course, doesn't. Now, one thing I've done, and I'm going to put one in here before I forget. Sure, sometimes, unfortunately, if I get into repeat situations, I repeat the same thing. But I have gotten into a little bit of the habit of unlocking this car. All right, it doesn't go anywhere until you hit it, but then it's not going to put flat spots on the wheels. Oops, yeah, we're in reverse. Right, so that way we could just bump it right into the next one. And I did hear, if anybody didn't know this, it's sort of being confirmed enough because it's happened to me at least twice. If you stop your rail cars on a bit of a hill, especially one that doesn't push them into the locomotive, so you stop it on a slight uphill, you could run into issues with the cars when they get reinserted into the game. You know, I want to make sure I hear that noise. Yeah, that brake is off. So in other words, like what happened to me in one of the past episodes that you probably have seen by now, who knows if you watched that one, but there we go. So we're all hooked up. Let's keep moving. But like the rail cars started running away because they were on a slight hill. So it's like it pops in the rail cars before it pops in the pins. So if that rail car is on a hill, it can start running down the hill before and then I guess it's just too far away. So it's almost like they need to spawn it in with the brakes on and then like momentarily at least lock the pins and then release the brakes. Like, oh, that's going to happen in computer time, probably relatively quick. But I think that's what they probably need to do. But in the meantime, be careful that your cars don't end up running away on you or just try to stop them. So it makes sense. I thought about it too when I was unhooking those rail cars down there. Now that's in a good spot because that sawmill kind of they're not going to go far even if they're not attached. But it also makes sense that what I've been doing where I lock the wheels on the farthest one and the nearest, the end and the beginning, however you want to look at whatever the end and beginning is of the rails of the cars. Oops, go on. You can stop. I do like to, not just jump out because I know the F is going to set. I do like to wait until it comes mostly to a stop at least. So yeah, so I do recommend that if you're going to, even if you're just going to like leave it attached to the locomotive, it might not be a bad idea to get in the habit of locking, putting the brake on the last car. We don't want to go that fast. No, we go faster than that. Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes when you switch directions too, there's something about the physics that, like if we had gone forward, it would have been a lot easier, which doesn't make a huge amount of sense because pushing is pushing, right? I mean, it doesn't, or pulling. If you're going to pull forward, but it almost gets sometimes into this like cyclic thing where it just won't go unless you bust it loose by going up to 70. Just make sure you don't go flying. Paying attention. Yeah, we did put a link in there, right? So we should be good to grab this and get on our way. Get down to there, drop off the one car, take these two up to the smelter, take them all the way up to the coal mine and pick up our coal, take the coal all the way down to the tools. Now the question is, now that we're here, would it make sense? Yeah, we hit it. So a little tiny break. Yep. Would it make sense to buy these other cars while we're here? I don't know where I would put them. Am I just trying to be too overly efficient? Let's think about it for a minute. Is it really going to save that much? No. Because I think the next one we're going to need would really be the box car, right? So that, yeah. So let's see. How much have I recorded about so far? So we're only like should be about 25 minutes in. All right. So we took the brakes off. We should be good to go if we go forward. All right. Did we get our? Yep. Everybody's coming along for the ride. So I'm going to run this down and drop the car off. I'll probably. I don't think it's going to be that exciting showing you guys going up to the coal mine and back. We've already done that just because we have 5 cars. I may record it in case I start having struggles. And just so you know that those 12 cars on this train, like you can do it. Like when we came from the smelter back up that big long bridge, it definitely was work. This train felt it. There's no doubt. So I think I'll come back later and get those rail cars. It's not that far away from. It's not like we're going all the way to the iron mine or something. I mean, I'm probably going to be right over by the sawmill, and this is not that big a deal to stop over here real quick and pick up more stuff. And then we'll have some more money, right? Because how much will we get for each of these? The hopper car. So we're going to bring 5 of them up there. We're going to get $150 per car, which is 10 times 15 for each coal. So we should get $150 per car. 5 cars is going to be $250 plus $750. That's really not too bad, right? That'll be another chunk towards another car. And then let me see what I have. And then we have, let's see, tools, ironworks. Yeah, we already have 96 iron down there at the ironworks. So I've already run down a bunch of iron. So it's really just this coal. Now we're not going to have enough coal up at the coal mine, so I think this will be the one trip of coal I make. And then we'll go get tools. And that'll be the end of the episode, one way or the other. Right? So we'll go, we already have 36 tools down there. And the reason I'm saying tools is because we need tools and steel pipes, which is both of those things from the ironworks. Yeah, so really on our way back, we leave these cars, I would say, yeah, that's interesting. Well, the steel pipes are going to need the tier 1 flat cars. So let me think. We're going to have to pick those up from the sawmill if we want to try to do a combined load. So let me go think about that while I'm driving, back up to the coal mine and whatnot. And I will see you. Maybe when we get up there, we'll load up together. How's that sound? All right. Talk to you in a minute. All right. We're pulling into the sawmill again. I decided to show this just because I think it actually will be, as far as yard work goes, a little bit more of an exciting thing than even some other things, right? So we're going to be spinning around to here. We just came out this way, so I'm not even looking at the signals, even though I really probably should. It's got to be hard in multiplayer when you have different people going other places. Like, you definitely probably want some rules about how you handle all this stuff. But in any event, we are here doing our own thing alone. So we want to switch this guy, and then we want to get all of these switched as best we can to be able to drop this guy off and head right back out. All right, so let's put on a lot of brake there. All right, so this guy we need to back in this way. I'm going to run over to these because now when we go back out, we're going to head back up to the smelter. And I was looking at my little chart I have for my little spreadsheet for these things, and it looks like the oil refinery will only take 18 tools at a time, which the car holds 24. Yeah, so that one's switched right. It's leaning this way, so when we come back into it, we'll be good. This one's sending us to the right direction now. This one's going to accept us coming back this way, so we need to flip this one, and then we can back in there, and then when we head back out, we can flip it back the other way, right? All right, so this guy needs to be able to accept us coming from this direction. So yeah, if you can only drop off 18, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, the logistics, if you haven't gotten there yet. Because, you can drop off 100 pipes, but you want to, you want to try to bring the even amount, but that means you're going to have to drop your pipes off first. And then, you still have to get beams in there, but you can only drop off 20 beams at a time. So, do you want to try to build a single train that has all those things that you then, but that's a lot of, putting things together. By the way, see how it's sprung forward almost? I don't think I'm on a hill. And I think there's a certain thing going on with the trains becoming like spring loaded. And that's why when you switch directions sometimes, I think it's hard for it to like push it back the other way, depending on exactly how you stopped. Now it was easy that time, but I think we let loose some of that, called spring loaded action that we got going on. So yeah, I'm not sure really, honestly, I have some opinions on what I'm thinking would work out best, but do you really, do we try to, when we're down there, do we try to bring like a certain number of beams? And maybe that's where we really want to get start talking about those drop-off yards, like I'm talking about the smelter, where we could run more beam cars down there, right? Because who wants to go up and get 6 beam cars each time and then come down? That would be 18, so you could drop those off. It would really be nice to run up there and get more than just, especially as you get bigger, longer trains. But then you run into this, and not the end of the world, but a logistics hurdle at that point. I thought about this before too. I should have stopped beyond that water tower. Right? It really doesn't matter that much, but I should have. I did think of that, and I said, you know what? If I need water, now we don't. We're gonna be fine to go back up to the smelter. More brake. That hit kind of hard. A little harder than I would have liked to, and guess what I didn't check? Oh, which one? That's right. Oh, okay. All right. Good. That sort of worked out. Worked out a little better than I deserved. All right, so let's give it a tiny itty bit of gas. See what I mean? It's just not pushing it back. Now, I might be up against those, but I really didn't even move, I don't think. There you go. See, I really wasn't hitting that. There was some kind of a spring force, you could almost call it. All right, so we'll do that. Now, I guess the only problem with having a consistency and making assumptions, and you'll see me once in a while double check things, but I'll disconnect that. Now I feel comfortable because that's all downhill right there, right? Like the chances of these guys breaking loose, we're kind of going down in, and I didn't do that with my other. I didn't do that with my other things. That I kind of regretted a little bit. So and I could redo it. We haven't even delivered anything to the tools, but I afterwards I remembered that I didn't make the tools lower. So hopefully that's not a huge problem. Now, you know what, before we even get in here, how's our fire doing? Fire's doing okay. I don't need to throw more wood in this second. We'll throw it in a minute. I know we don't have any fuel, but you don't need fuel every minute of the day, right? Just need it when your firebox temperature starts dropping. All right, so if we just flip this one back, we should be good to get out of here. And I'll head up there, and I'll meet you guys. Like I said, this time I think it'll probably be the coal mine. I don't think hooking these up and going. But this was a little bit interesting. Plus, I had already thought about what I wanted to do and bring up that issue with the dropping tools off, even though I'm getting way ahead of our episode here. So, all right, I will speak with you guys when we get up to the someplace that seems a little bit exciting, right? Let's see if the spring thing happens again. We got the right number of cars coming along with us. All right, talk to you guys in a few more minutes. I loaded up all of the cars, and well, you can't really, not all the cars, all but one of the cars. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing, what I found easiest, just in case you're struggling with this. These things are a bit tough, and one of the reasons is as I click on it and move down, and all you have to do is move down a tiny bit. There's like a pause before it starts to move, so be aware of that. Like, don't be impatient. Like, so I'm going to click, just, you see my cursor just move down a little bit, and then it seems to stop, and I get it. Now, you got to note your number, so we're doing 7s in a sense. All right, so I need to stop it before it gets down to 37. And usually the one of them I'll put up when it, like in this case, when it's got about 3 to go, so like when it gets to 0, like that. It paused on me there. You can't really tell exactly when I'm clicking, but don't panic, and you have plenty of time to raise it up once it hits 37 if you haven't done this before. There we go. So like, see, I clicked, but it waited there, and then there we go, nice and up. And we got 30. As long as you see 37, you didn't waste any. You didn't, you'll have, if you come down here, you can see how many in your car. And then the other thing one of the reasons I wanted to stop here is to show you what I did. This is a bit of an improvement where I took and leveled up this ground so that I could put these markers, and then they're, especially when you're looking this way at the side of the car, they're like just super visible. That compares to, excuse me, like these here where it's just much more difficult to pick those out. And I didn't bring a train up here, but they'll go all the way up to here, because when we get that real long lumber train coming in here with the rails and the beams, it'll go quite a ways into here. So, but I'll get that straight. And then on the other side, I've already got it done. And this is working out real well. And I've been doing this pretty much everywhere. I don't want to kill all the grass. Now, one of the things to note, and I'm hoping this helps with the recordings, is I've turned down a lot of my settings. And this is just because of the recordings were like pausing. And I tried some other things. I don't know why. Here, let me go in there just to show you what I've got them set at in case you're... Oops, not continue. Not controls. So I've got them all on just high. I just click that high button. All right, so we'll see what happens. So let me show you down this end real quick, and then we'll get on our way. So another thing to note, on the way up here, these 5 cars definitely were getting kind of heavy for the little porter there. So I'm not real sure how now, part of it was probably my expectation that it wasn't going to be so hard, so I wasn't paying an over amount of attention, but I was really starting to use a decent amount of the throttle there to get this going. But if you look, so all the way over here, they're, not perfect because the grass is kind of high over here, but it's still a lot more visible. And I think it looks nice. It's certainly, I probably could have filled in that little line there. I don't know why I tend to feel like I need to stretch it out to the thinnest. Well, in this case, I guess it was sort of matching up the two, right? Because at some point, I didn't want to, this is over higher than this track is, but I probably could have blended it in a little bit without that line there, but that's all right. You get the idea. You can make yours look perfect. And if I ever redo it, I have been making those things better. The other thing I could do is I try to do a little bit of a better job of, look how these aren't in a row. But you could definitely, but I'm just really actually not that meticulous a person. So I like the idea of things being right, and the process works, right? So let's make sure everybody's coming with us here. Put it in full. Oh, no. Not yet. We need to put, oh, I didn't get water. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't even know that I need water on the way back down, to be honest. But I'm going all the way down to the... Yeah, I'm not even... I do need to go back and get water. I should have stopped on the way. Or do we put a new water tower? I don't really want one here permanently. I mean, that would be kind of cheaty. Let's go get water the proper way. I guess the best thing, well, if I back out, did I just... Oh, I flipped the wrong switch anyway, didn't I? Oops. Yes, I did. And I could pull forward and then back in, but I don't know. That seems like more switch flipping. And let's go see how much water we have. But yeah, I don't have any real water supply all the way down there, which might be an idea, right? Because, well, we're going downhill too, so. But it still might be an idea to have a water tower, maybe by the sawmill. I don't want to get into building all that today. Yeah, I only have 58 water. So, put some more firewood in here. And I think I will go back to the reverser and just... you know what, we'll go... what did I do with that switch? I forget already that quick. Yeah, now we'll back, since we already have that switch. I really wish they would fix this view so that it would go to something that isn't in the middle of the cart when you get into this view. And I guess I don't know if they have no intention of improving this. You wouldn't think it would be that hard to give us a button to add firewood or something. It's been a little while since I actually made an episode, so you know, obviously was hoping for some little quality of life improvements. And I think that maybe they don't use this so much, and I can understand why. I wish they would fix the guy's height, right? Look, his head's stuck up in the cab. Let me do V twice. Oops. Right, like, can we get some guy who's not some, like, 7'2" Norwegian in there that we can actually see out of the cab? I don't know how big these things were, but you think if you were going to put a cover on it, you wouldn't put it so you hit your... Look, his hat is sticking out of the roof. Now, I have heard, too, that we were having a little bit of a conversation on Steam that these cars were made in, they're guessing, 1924, which would fit because a lot of these rail cars were made back in... A lot of these rail cars were made... Well, let me start over. These kind of engines, this narrow gauge was put in between, like, in the 1870s and 1890s, and then they stopped, I guess, in favor of, you know, larger cars. Were getting cheaper, I imagine. Easier to build. But then they used these up until the 1940s, so it's entirely reasonable to think that people were... you know, still building cars for these up until the 1920s, 30s. And I bet you that it's a lot easier to get pictures, because after, like, the 1900s, they started getting 35 millimeter film, like, into the 1920s. And when you think about that 35 millimeter film and the way it worked in cameras was just so much easier that you probably started getting pictures of what at the time would have been considered dumb stuff, like rail cars. You know, like, I'm not sure how many pictures of rail cars they would have taken when they had to do all those slats of wood and all that kind of stuff to take a single picture, you know. So this was what they could model at that point. Now, I don't know which car they were talking about. I don't think it was one of the stake body cars. But this is a bit of a waste. So what I'm going to do, you get the idea of what I'm going to do here. I'll drive back around, flip the switch for myself, and then we'll come back out. Let me hit the brakes. I think I'm going to have to hit them kind of a good amount because all this weight. If I have any issues, I'll start recording on the way down, but I'm just going to kind of take it slow, and we'll get all the way down to the ironworks, and then we'll take a look at what's going on there. I don't want to record these sessions too long because I would like to get, you know, to the point we get some tools. All right, so I'll see you in a few minutes down at the ironworks. Just going through the four-way intersection. I like my intersection. It's definitely very, very functional, you know, like I just like the way it looks. It's very symmetric in every direction, and, you know, just, it's cool. Now, I haven't even used the other two sides of it. So, as far as thoughts I had on the way down here is we're going to have a problem on the way back up because I need to pay attention. Let me stop talking a little bit and at least slow down slightly. I think we should be blazing right in here without any issues. I don't know if I have bypass switches. I don't usually put the bypass switches on unless I leave trains in there, so that way whenever I pull back in, I can just go right into wherever I want to go. We want to be on this side, so we're going to pull right in. But let's, instead of making this mistake twice, let me slam on the brakes full speed. But we're going to stop in time? Of course not. That's the pay attention part. This way we won't have to reverse all the way around the world to get water again. But I was saying, let's, you know what, I can do this without you guys. Let me, let me get in the right spot. There's that springing thing I talked about earlier. All right, break. All right, now watch. Once it's pushed back, see how it went back? I don't know if you could tell, but it went back a lot easier in my opinion that time. All right, let's get out of here. I can fill this off, and it's really not that big a deal to dump these things off. I'm getting in a hurry, but I'm not sure that I should. So anyway, let's take a look at the map so I don't have 3 conversations going on in my head at once. The problem is, right now, we don't have any way to go to the freight depot directly without turning around somewhere. You know, now we could, yeah, we would have to go like up to the sawmill and do some kind of a goofy turnaround at the Grand Junction because we don't have any switch that will take us from down here into the freight depot. So we're going to have to build that relatively soon. I wasn't really thinking about it because I didn't think I needed it until we get to the refinery where we'll be selling things at the freight depot. That makes sense. So let me come in and see why that's an issue, is because it's my intention to purchase, well, let's, these called 24 box cars. All right, my intention to purchase 2 box cars which can carry tools, because we need these to go. All right, so we're going to buy one. Get another one. Do this on camera with you guys so you can see. We'll take a look at our money when that gets done. Oh, no, don't buy that one. There we go. So now we are the proud owners of 2 box cars, and we only have $3,000 left. And then we just take another quick look. I know that's not a ton, but each one of those box cars carries 24 tools, so that's a pretty good amount. So maybe we could think this. There's another thing that just sort of half popped into my mind. I just want to remind myself the price. Yeah, $1,500 for tanker cars. So, and then those don't carry as much, 12. So we're going to want, you know, a good number of those when it comes to, you know, carrying the crude oil over to the refinery. But that's sort of like next, not for today. All right, so now the other good news is for these 5 cars, we should get about $750, and that should be a nice shot to our money. You know, our money's starting to go up when you drop. It doesn't sound like a lot, but relative to this game, you know, it'll put us up over 4,000. So we'll start making some decent money. Now, the other thing I was just thinking of is when it comes to what we're going to be doing down here, we need to take also over to the oil field, the steel pipes that we make down here as well. So now we can only carry, now we can carry 12 steel pipes. So we're going to want 4 flat cars. And the question is, do we just start, yeah, see, we really just don't have enough money to do everything I want to do and buy a locomotive. So I'm thinking that we're kind of, for the sake of the game, we're kind of better off, I think, with just getting more cars, right? And just using this one locomotive, you know, as opposed to having a locomotive down here that we would just, or flat cars that we would leave here. Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the reason I say that is because it does then make sense if I'm just going to use the flat cars we have that we've been using for logs, which we have 6 of them. I could pick up 4 of them, and that would be like an even set, right? We'd get 48 and 48 of each type item. That would put me in the sawmill, which means I don't have to necessarily turn around twice or something, you know? Like, I have to go into the sawmill anyway, and then we'll head over to the thing, and then I'll just have to turn around and come down here, and then that way we can make it another episode. So let me, without further ado, for the sake of the length of the episode, start getting this unloaded. No, let me put water in here. Now this seems to have gotten a little bit finicky with some of the updates, but it still works about the same. Just don't be overly. The other thing I've noticed is too, I don't really be like when I first got the game, I used to be able to look in here and see the water level. I imagine you guys can probably see that. And it's just not going up. And so it seems like they broke that. Now, is this going up? No, of course not. And I do wish there was a way to pop back here. Let's see. Come down a little bit. It is pretty finicky as to where you got to get it. Yeah, no, that's not it. I mean, doesn't that look like it should be going in there? It's sort of, you know, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, at some point here, they need to make it a little friendlier, and somebody needs to work on some of that stuff. Let's see, is that... Yeah, see, now it's going up, but if let me just go back here. I mean, it went up, like, instantly, it felt like. Yeah, see, that water level is not 100% full, even though the thing is. So... Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, now it looks a lot more full, but I don't know. Right. Anyway, so I'm thinking too, yeah, with it being in a rush and we're pretty much out of time for this episode, maybe we make that another episode, and I'll call this something else besides getting tools. And that'll give us a little more time. Just we don't want to reverse. See, now are we going to get into that springing thing? No, we're pretty good. We don't need any firewood, so we do have our firewood thing down here. And that's the other thing. I mean, people were complaining about the firewood, and that's fine. But I filled this thing up quite a while ago now. And I know it's been time in real life, too. But it's going to be a long time before I use up all that firewood. I have to make another trip down here. Because I don't usually ever fill up. Now, I will get into more trips down here, right? We'll be coming in and out of here more as we get our ironworks delivering to different places, and you know we'll have to get we'll be coming in here to go to the refinery and to go to the tools. Just so you know, it is a good amount of work to get these 3 or 5 rail cars. You know, like that was a lot of hauling, because you got to haul stuff to the iron mine to get the iron, to get the rails, to get, you know, up to the core. Oh, pay attention. All right, so if you look, I brought 96 iron down. That I did off camera a little while ago. And then we have no coal. So with these 50, that should get us, let's see if my notes aren't wrong, which they are prone to be at times. We have 36 over there. So let's hit the brakes. Perfect. I'm not sure if you ever saw me unload this, but it comes out in blocks. And I have been, when I first start out, I was pretty cautious about, like, not getting 3 of these going at a time, or, you know, or multiple, because I was thinking, is it even going to count them all? But it's been really pretty good, so it hasn't. And this does seem to be pretty forgiving down here with dropping these off. Like, you can definitely, you can't push it too far, I imagine, but you can push it. So I don't know if I'm going to have, yeah, see, I'm not even going to have the other markers I need. So good. Well, you guys can see a little bit how I do that, even though you've probably seen it. Pull up. Well, you know what I could do? I can see those shadows. It's nice. They really could use some kind of marker to help single players do this, right? Like when I see the shadow get to right there of the right car. Slow down a little bit. Hard to say, like, not there. I don't know if it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I can see it's coming up right there. Let's go to the other side. See that? Pretty darn close enough. I'll lead it a little bit closer to this front tire, and then I come in here and we don't want that to. It's not going to cause a problem. That's good. So then we'll have some more marks. These marks are definitely helpful. and it doesn't need to be this exact for the most part. Really, truly doesn't. Getting to be a little issue here, isn't it? This will be the last one, I think. I don't think... I mean, that's below the height of the other piece of wood there, so... I don't think that's going to cause a problem. So how are we doing on money? Yep. We got our money. Not all of it, but... Oh, I went too far, didn't I? You know, I was kind of wondering when I was putting those down. Boy, I'm putting a lot of these down. But that's okay. I don't mind having that extra marker. Though, yeah. Just look at the bright side when you make a mistake, right? I could have done one less. Let's do the reverser. Get back in. It doesn't really matter if I'm even on the marks with... As long as I go far enough back, right? Because it's... I'm not trying to get exactly 3 in there anymore. Alright, so as long as I'm past that point, we're going to be good to go. And yeah, I think I'll call it an episode here. Unfortunately, we didn't get done to the point of tools, but we did get... We can go over and look. Make sure we're right. And then I will redo this after. I need to remember to write down on my spreadsheet how much I have down here. So there we go. Look at that. So we have at least 48 tools, I hope. Yep, 50. We're in the process of still making them, I imagine. There's our steel pipes. So probably before the next episode, I will go up and, or during, you know, at the beginning of the next episode, we'll have the rail cars and whatnot. Maybe I'll go pick up those flatbeds, and then I'll head up to the store, and I'll show you what I mean about, maybe we'll talk about a plan for how we get up there in the beginning of the next episode. But I really want to keep moving forward and making money. I've built enough tracks. I've got everything connected. I want to get some new locomotives. I want to actually say that I got the barrels done, you know, the barrels of oil sold, maybe. But maybe before we go to buy the oil, that's when I'll fix the depot. But by then we should have made at least some more money hauling stuff down around here, because all the stuff down in the southern end of the map, that's the moolah compared to the beginning of the map. So why we did all the hard work, you know, to get to this point. There you go, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I hope you have a wonderful day. I want to thank everybody. It's been probably a week now, but I went over 1,500 subscribers, so I appreciate everyone who watches it, and thank you for the likes and subscriptions. It's definitely appreciated. And have a good day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.